I'm asking is, what's so lovable about you? Well, I'm nice. Are you though? Well, I mean, I'm nice to people who are nice to me. Okay, well then you're not nice. You're reciprocal. You're cordial. You're professional. And you'll notice that if I ask you, like, tell me about your best friend. What are some great things about your best friend? Oh my God, they're so this, they're so funny, they're so smart, and you could rave about your best friends. And if I ask you, like, yeah, but is your best friend really funny? Yeah, you should hear him. If I ask you, are you really that funny? I mean, I guess so. In other words, we're way faster to hype up our friends because we see the best in them. And we're oftentimes much slower to hype up ourselves because we don't see the best in ourselves. And that's probably why that question bothers people so much. What is so lovable about you? And you don't fix it because it's going to attract somebody. You do it because it's going to attract you, but more importantly, because it's going to help you to self-actualize, to become what you could become. How can you possibly love yourself if you don't have a reason to love yourself? But you can't command a person to love you. You have to give them a reason to. You can't command yourself to love yourself. Love me for who I am. Why would I? You don't. Oh, because everyone deserves love. Do you? But I guess figure out what's so lovable about you, because there's something. Find out where you can grow, because there are those things. And if you see yourself in this way, self-conscious, short, ugly, balding, whatever, and then you can appreciate it when someone sees you differently. They can look at you and say, I see something more. I see something more. Typically, the smaller that we are, we say this. I will never be that kind of a parent. And then, especially when we're little kids, when I'm a parent, I'm gonna let my kids eat ice cream for dinner. And I'm gonna let them eat all the candy they want. And you should. Because a good parent will just tell their child to do what makes them happy, right? Isn't that what we're supposed to do as parents? Set our children up to just be happy? No? I thought we were supposed to do that. The way on earth do we say that? Because isn't that the advice that we oftentimes give people? Well, just do what makes you happy. Why not? Eating ice cream. I ate ice cream for dinner last night. That made me very happy, I'm telling you. Yeah. Okay. So how do we parse that out between what makes us happy and what makes us healthy? And also by healthy, do you mean physically or mentally?
Like both.
Okay. So now, if we're thinking about this, understand that if this is our priority and not happiness, that opens up all kinds of challenges then for parenting and for living. Because as a parent, if our job is to make sure that our children are healthy mentally and physically and psychologically and emotionally, then it stands to reason that that's also our job as people. Because we can't be healthy, so we can't raise healthy children unless we're healthy ourselves. Because you have to know what that thing is before you can give it to somebody else. If you're a severely damaged person, it becomes very difficult to raise small people who are anything but severely damaged. And oftentimes we'll think I'm severely damaged because my parents were were guilt trippers. And so I will never be that guilt tripper. So now what ends up happening is you go to that other extreme. You can stop me if you've seen this before, but you have these two extremes. You have somebody who's guilt tripping. They're giving their child too much guilt. Now what happens if you don't give your child enough guilt? How do they turn out? Spoiled? Yeah, spoiled, oblivious.
Behavioral problems.
What's that?
Behavioral problems.
Massive behavioral problem. What kind? You deal with them all the time. What kind of behavioral problems? Like, what do you see? What do you see from kids? You can obviously see when kids are raised without any kind of guilt. And let's be honest about it. What oftentimes we're lacking at home, it is love. But if we're experiencing that at an age when we aren't really able to process that's love that we're lacking, we confuse that with attention. And so what we end up seeking as we get older is not actual love. We seek attention. And that goes back to what you're saying about hoeing around. And it goes with both sexes. If you don't get that thing that you're lacking, you start to search out for it, seek out for it. And then think about it isn't just that you kind of betray yourself that way and you betray your body that way, but you also betray your psychology, because you begin to manipulate yourself into thinking, I need to behave these ways, and you start to sacrifice yourself, who you actually are, so that you can get that attention. And then, of course, you wake up one day and you really don't know who you are, because you've never really explored who you are. All you've ever been is responsive to other people around you in the world. And so if you raise somebody and they just feel too guilty, you're guilt trippers, it can become difficult to use guilt in a proper way. Should you feel guilty for terrible things that you do? Well, of course you should. To say that you shouldn't feel guilty about the terrible things you do is to say that you should live without a conscience. This is the whole purpose of your conscience, to guide you. But you shouldn't feel no guilt, because if you feel no guilt about the things that you do, well, there's a word for that, a psychopath. A person who lacks empathy, a person who has very shallow emotions. What you want to actually create in somebody is a midpoint, somebody who's able to feel guilt, but is able to use guilt in the proper way. And how do you use guilt in the proper way? Well, you use it as a motivator, so that if you do something terrible today, and then you feel terrible about it, then when you're presented with that opportunity or that option again tomorrow, you'll recoil from it. You won't do it, because now you remember, I don't want to feel that way that I felt before. Like I'm thinking right now, Saturday school a couple of weeks ago, there was somebody who was in here, boyfriend and girlfriend, I believe they were. They sat over there by my desk, and when they left, I saw $5 on the ground. I still have the $5 in my desk drawer, because I think I know. I took a picture of the sign-in sheet, and I've asked my classes if anyone knows who this person is. It's been like a week and a half. They think the $5 is completely gone. They don't even realize I'm actually looking for them to ask them, is this your $5? Will they even remember it? Now, there's two ways of going about that. Why is it that I'm doing that? Well, just keep it. Who cares? Well, I don't know. Have any of you ever been down to your last $5? I have. I know what that feels like. Have you ever found $5 in your pocket that you didn't remember that you had? Ain't that a great feeling? Wouldn't it be a great feeling if someone shows up with hey, is this the $5 you lost 2 weeks ago? But then again, I also don't lay awake at night I need to find this person. I need to find them. Spend $150 to hire a private investigator to go find the person so I can give them back their $5. You don't go to that extreme either. But man, I'd feel guilty if I kept it, because I'd be it's just $5. Then if it's just $5, then it's not worth sacrificing your conscience for, if that's all it is. So I use the guilt as a proper way to motivate you to proper action. Yeah, and that's that extreme. That came up in one of our articles last semester. So you're going to seek out somebody who gives you, so if you didn't get enough attention at home, and then of course enough is going to be subjective as well. So if you don't get enough attention, then you go out and you seek it. If you got a lot of attention when you were younger, but then when you go out into the world and you don't get that same level of attention, same thing. You go seek that level of attention. And by the way, that case is actually almost worse, because if your parents just shower you with too much attention, and yes, there is such a thing as too much attention, then you go out into the world and the world doesn't give you that level of attention. You think there's something wrong with the world. You start to think, wow, the world's a terrible, bitter, resentful, angry place. Wow, what a horrible place this world is. And you recoil from it. You start to have a negative attitude towards the world, and of course then that bleeds in. And by the way, if you're used to just having a ton of attention, and then you get with somebody who gives you a ton of attention, you don't even appreciate it, because that's just the way it's supposed to be. That's just the way it's supposed to be. In other words, if you feel that you deserve too much, it becomes impossible to appreciate it. That's the negative side of it. It isn't that you should settle for less, it's that you should adopt the proper amount. It's kind of like, well, I'll leave it at that. Yeah. I have a former student who was telling me that there's a guy that she was interested. There's a guy who's interested in her, and he's been pursuing her for months. And he comes from a proper family, proper background. And it was funny because when she was describing that she was really into into success. Not money like in a materialistic way, but just like as a measure of like reward for hard work. And so it's like the first thing I asked her, what's he like? Well, he has money. That's the first thing out of her mouth. But it wasn't because she's a gold digger. It's just because she recognizes that money and wealth is a reflection of hard work. And so I asked, what else? Well, he has a car, he has a job, and his family is intact, and they love him, and they all get along. And it's just nothing of a world that she was familiar with. And so she said, but there's this other guy who's entire opposite, all the worst aspects of a boy. Probably, obviously, an intact family, no job, taking the bus. And there's nothing wrong with taking the bus, but there's a problem with taking the bus if all of your money goes towards weed, obviously. It means your money is not in the right places, and that means that your priorities are not in the right place. And then it's an obvious choice. Who do you think she likes? The second one. Why? Probably because it's what's comfortable. Because there's a true story of life, which is that you're going to end up with a person who confirms what you think about yourself. If you're someone who thinks very highly of yourself, you won't be with somebody who doesn't treat you that way. Not because you're going to move your head and not because you're going to swing your head and post on Instagram, know your worth. It's because it's just not going to feel right. You won't be able to put your finger on it maybe. And so it's just not going to last just because you're uncomfortable in the situation. Similarly, if you think very lowly of yourself and someone treats you very, very well, well, you're going to find a way to screw that up. You won't even mean to. It'll be unconscious. It's going to be something like, I don't know, like he bites his nails. Yeah, but isn't everything else in place? Yeah, but I don't know, something about the way he chews. I can't put my finger on it. I don't know what it is. And so you'll ruin that one. And then someone will come along and treat you badly, and since you think badly of yourself, you'll be comfortable in it. Doesn't mean you're going to be happy. Don't mistake comfortability with happiness. It's that you will be comfortable there. Similarly, if someone treats you well and you think highly of yourself, you'll be comfortable there. But that middle point's that's the goal, because that way you know when you're not getting the thing that you need and want and deserve, and yet you also don't expect it so much that you're unable to appreciate it when you get it. That's a hard one to find, because how do you know your value? How do you know your worth? Well, you have to analyze yourself and be objective. I won't ask you guys this, but I'll just let you know I was talking to another class earlier this morning, and because it's Valentine's Day, the question came up and asked, like, what's so lovable about you? And I don't remember if I've ever asked you guys this, but when people say, like, I deserve love, like, why? What's so lovable about you? And when I ask that, people get angry because they hear a different tone. They hear the tone of, what's so lovable about you? That's not what I'm asking. What I'm asking is, what's so lovable about you? Well, I'm nice. Are you, though? Well, I mean, I'm nice to people who are nice to me. Okay, well, then you're not nice. You're reciprocal. You're cordial. You're professional. Well, I mean, I'm smart. Are you, though? Well, I mean, I know a lot about food. Okay, maybe that's something then. And you'll notice that if I ask you, like, tell me about your best friend. What are some great things about your best friend? Oh my God, they're so this, they're so funny, they're so smart, and you could rave about your best friends. And if I asked you, like, yeah, but is your best friend really funny? Yeah, you should hear him. If I ask you, are you really that funny? I mean, I guess so. In other words, we're way faster to hype up our friends because we see the best in them. And we're oftentimes much slower to hype up ourselves because we don't see the best in ourselves. And that's probably why that question bothers people so much. What is so lovable about you? Because there is something, at least one thing. And if you're able to say, I don't know, I mean, what are you? Well, what are you really? Well, I'm unsure of myself. Okay, so you're anxious. Yeah, I'm anxious. I lack self-esteem. Any of you guys see Mean Girls before? My pores are too big. I have man shoulders. Whatever it is, we have a long list of things that we don't like about ourselves. So at the end of all that, I can ask you, okay, so you are self-conscious, anxious, big-pored, man-shouldered, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. And once you recognize that about yourself, now you can start to work on those things. And it can really bother you, oh my God, I can't believe I'm all those things. It's great though, because you can fix it. Because once you know what it is, you can fix it. And you don't fix it because it's going to attract somebody. You do it because it's going to attract you, but more importantly, because it's going to help you to self-actualize, to become what you could become. How can you possibly love yourself if you don't have a reason to love yourself? If I ask you guys, laugh, you can go, oh, but it's fake, isn't it? Yeah, because I can't command you to laugh. You have to have a reason to laugh. You can't come along and I don't know, like a friend of yours just all of a sudden drop a bunch of Valentine's Day stuff on you and say, hey, be my Valentine, and then you want to be their Valentine, can you? They can't make you want to be the Valentine. You have to have a reason to want to be their Valentine. And oftentimes you can't even put your finger on it. I don't even know why. I don't know. Maybe you're too good. Maybe you're too nice. Maybe you're just not bad enough. Or maybe it's the opposite. There's something about you, I can't put my finger on it, and then you find out a few years later that they're a serial killer. I don't know. But you can't command a person to love you. You have to give them a reason to. You can't command yourself to love yourself. Love me for who I am. Why would I? You don't. Oh, because everyone deserves love. Do you? I hope you don't feel like you deserve it, because then what I'm saying is that at the end of all of that, if you feel like you deserve it, when you get it, you won't appreciate it. And then if you're with somebody who feels like they deserve it, they won't appreciate the love that you give them. They can't appreciate it. If they feel like it's payday, they work 10 hours, they at $10 an hour, and they get a $100 check. You don't walk around going, oh my God, thank you so much to my boss. Oh my God, this is an incredible gift you've given me. No, it's what they owed you. In fact, you probably look at it and go, why is it only 100? Didn't I work 11 hours? Shouldn't I have gotten more? You can't appreciate it. But if you recognize that you don't necessarily deserve love, and by the way, even if you do self-actualize, that doesn't mean you deserve their love. But someone comes along and gives it to you as a gift, well, now you can recognize it for the precious thing that it is. And if you give your love to a person who's able to appreciate it and recognize it for the beautiful gift that it is, well then maybe now you've got something that you can build upon. Maybe. But I guess figure out what's so lovable about you, because there's something. Find out where you can grow, because there are those things. And if you see yourself in this way, self-conscious, short, ugly, balding, whatever, and then you can appreciate it when someone sees you differently. They can look at you and say, I see something more. So it's hard to do if throughout your childhood you didn't get those things and you don't know what to look for. And so those are the things that strike inevitably and invisibly. So figure them out, work them out. That's the process of maturity. That's what it is to grow older. Not to grow older, but to grow more mature. And so maybe that's the goal, to become as mature as possible, as young as possible, so that you can live as much and as deeply as possible. Questions, comments, concerns, complaints, criticisms, critiques?
No.
Happy Wednesday.
Hump day.
Yeah. Happy hump day.